Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Nsenga Burton, and I am founder and editor in chief of the Burton Wire News on Substack. I am coming to you today to let you know, if you haven't already seen it on social media, that we have put out our global wrap up of the top stories of 2025. We have named it the year Black progress was tested. Some of the stories that we're talking about include the year of the rollback. That means DEI, Black labor, the erasure of institutional equity. Some of the other stories included the effectiveness of economic boycotts, the year of control, the story of Adriana Smith, the young Black woman who's a nurse who became brain dead in early stages of her pregnancy and was forced to be kept alive based on a law or doctor's comprehension of a law, fetal heartbeat law here in Georgia, and incubate a baby in a dead body, essentially. And of course, that baby was eventually taken from her, taken out of her. She could not give birth to the baby. I wish people would stop saying that. She did not give birth to the baby, and she died shortly thereafter. And the baby is now in the care of her family. But she did have a medical directive and did not want to be kept alive by artificial means in the case that she became brain dead. So this case had a lot of issues: maternal mortality rates, which are exceptionally high in Georgia, especially as it relates to Black women, rights over our body. What does it mean when you have a medical directive and doctors don't follow it? They follow the law, or what they perceive to be the law, or their interpretation of the law over the rights or decision of the person who has the medical directive. And this woman is a nurse, so she understands what she's saying and doing as well. So, what does it mean when we discount even people's expertise in how they want to define their lives and what is for them or not for them? So there are lots of different questions. And then who pays, right? Who pays? In multiple ways, right? Economically, financially, spiritually, all of the things when that medical directive is not followed. And if that child has long-term challenges, issues, emotional, physical, otherwise, who pays for that? Is it the family, or is it the government? Or is it the hospital? So there are lots of questions that were raised by this case, and it is very important, we think, and they should not be left off of the wrap up lists of top stories, and it has been left off of many. So we think it's a very important story, which is why we're bringing it to you. We also have the year of displacement. If you think about the civil war in Sudan, the crisis in Haiti, the global Black migration crisis as it relates to people trying to get to Europe, Spain, thousands of people have died, drowned, trying to escape and to get there, to escape persecution in other ways. The year of extraction, we think about data centers, environmental racism, a term that was coined by Dr. Benjamin Chavis, and the true cost of AI. What does that mean for us? What does surveillance look like for us? What does it mean now that the Supreme Court has said that you can racially profile people again? How that is impacting these immigration raids, these ICE raids, all of the things. So we've had a lot of stories. And of course, the year of culture and consequence, whether we talk about Kendrick Lamar and his amazing Super Bowl performance, in addition to the success of his song, whether we talk about Outkast getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Salt and Pepper as well, Spinderella becoming the first DJ to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, just really thinking about hip hop Southern roots and thinking about moving it from the margins to the center in such a very big way. And also really paying homage to some of our women hip hop founders like Salt and Pepper. I would say MC Light, all the others, Queen Latifah, as you know. So, and then of course, we have people like Jamie Foxx, who finally talked about his catastrophic medical concerns, i.e., a stroke. And then we find out later on in the year that Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, suffered the same fate. But what was good about that is that it opened up a space where Black men were able to talk about health issues and challenges. And we saw a lot more of that on social media and also in lots of different types of discourse, public discourse. And that is very important. We have the deaths of Angie Stone, D'Angelo, Carmen de Lavalade, Roy Ayers, Richard Smallwood, gospel great Richard Smallwood, Roberta Flack, iconic The loss of these like major people. Irv Gotti, people didn't really like him, but his impact on hip hop was major. Malcolm Jamal Warner, America's favorite son, tragic, tragic loss. Dr. Danielle Spencer, who played D on What's Happening, but also was a veterinarian, studied at Tuskegee. Um, Member of Delta Sigma Theta, just outstanding person in all kinds of ways. Gone, lost. Mickey Lee, the woman from Big Brother, who was very popular with fans. Sada Shakur, right? H. Rap Brown, the old guard is what we call them, right? The people who really fought for our rights in a way that was meaningful. Folks like that. Betty Reed Susskind, Viola Fletcher, the oldest living person from the Greenwood Massacre, survivor. Just so many different people, actors, Kimberly Herbert Gregory, uh, passed away. Musicians like Jimmy Cliff and Jelly Bean Johnson, who are just so iconic in many ways. Jimmy Cliff for, activism and really moving forward reggae music and making it more of a global phenomenon. And Jelly Bean Johnson being part of the time, being a writer and a producer, working closely with Prince, and all of that. We had a lot of loss this year, and it continues to happen. Um, Isaiah Whitlock Jr. passed away yesterday. We didn't have him in there because it happened yesterday, and the story's been up. But the work that he does as an actor, character actor, iconic and important. Mr. Whitlock's work on The Wire is just bar none. It's just top tier, right? So we have that, and then of course we have the reparations. There's a global reparations movement. California is leading the way here in the U.S., but there are global reparations movement throughout the Caribbean, throughout different countries in Africa. You have also Mackenzie Scott giving millions upon millions of dollars, almost $1 billion to HBCUs, donating to HBCUs, which is really a important from a funding perspective and from a longevity perspective, but also to kind of push back, very much to push back on the erasure of Black people, Black culture, Black institutions, Black women, Black men, all things Black, right? This anti Black racism that is permeating the United States has always permeated the United States, but is now out loud and in the open in a way that it hasn't been in a very long time. To see someone like a Mackenzie Scott giving billions, almost $1 billion to HBC, $1 billion, and has over the course of what, since 2020, over $1 billion, has given over $1 billion, but this year almost $1 billion to several HBCUs, is really important to challenge those perceptions that there is no value, that Black people have no value in this country, and we all know that that's not true. People who are thinking people who are not hateful people who actually know the history of this country, and that we actually would not have one without Black people, Black labor for sure. So I think it's really important that that story was included in our wrap up. So I think what we learned this year is that Black progress is never granted. You have got to keep your foot on the gas if you want to keep moving forward, because there are millions of people who are happy to intervene, get in the way, and make your life more difficult. Right? So Black progress is not granted, it is contested, it is fought for, it is rolled back. That's what we saw this year. It is defended, and it is strategic, and it is rebuilt. And that is really our pattern. Every time it looks like we got something good going, here come those in power who want to disenfranchise us for no reason other than the fact that we're Black people. We're not even, we're 12 to 13% of the population. So we're not really a threat to anybody. But for some reason, we are perceived as a threat, and we must be stopped, and we must have our lives hard, and we must not achieve the things that people who had a 400-year head start have achieved. We must not have access to those networks and those resources. And even if we have earned our way, this rhetoric that we didn't earn it, right, DEI, which of course we know is false as well, because we're not even the largest benefactors of DEI policies. We're not, as white women. But yeah, if anybody has to earn their way, if anybody has to do It used to be twice as hard. I always say it's three, four times as hard, and you still not gonna get the interview, even with the policies in place. So, we're not new to this. We're true to this. We will recover. We will come back even stronger. We just don't go away. We don't sit down. We don't stop fighting. It's just the wrong. That's the that's just who we are. It's just who we are. And then even, with people being loud and proud about, hey, we're not saving America this time. That doesn't mean we weren't doing anything. I think people perceive that as, oh, black people are not doing anything. They're throwing fans and dancing. We had some of that, but we definitely were working behind the scenes and strategizing behind the scenes. And many organizations were doing that work, especially led by Black women. We're doing that work, working behind the scenes. All right. So don't think that because we understand strategy and we understand how to get work done, that may not look like it has looked traditionally, that we're not doing anything. Never underestimate us. That's always a mistake. All right. So I say that to say, please, please, please take the time and take the poll and let us know what you think the top stories are. If we don't have the story on there, write it in the comments. Let us know what you think we should have had on the list. We are very open to feedback. And I want you to think about what 2026 will look like for you. What kinds of stories do you want to tell? What kinds of stories do you want to see? What is the story that you want to tell at the end of 2026? God willing, we'll make it to 2026, the end of 2026. But what does that look like for you? All right. But whatever you do, we want you to have a fantastic 2026. And I hope that you get all that your heart desires, because we deserve better. And we deserve to have what we want, just like everyone else. All right, have a wonderful 2026. Have a wonderful New Year's Eve, a wonderful new year, and we will see you soon.